how did you lay the training out?
Yeah. So this came right from Louie. We at that same, I always tell this story. So at that same seminar he was given, I had gone down to West Side probably at that time, like maybe 5 or 6 times. And Louie wouldn't know my name if he put a gun to his head, but he knew my face. And he's sitting in the hotel room or in the hotel lobby at this hotel we were all staying at. You can just tell he's just sinking into the couch. People are coming up and talking to him and shaking his hand. He just did not want to be there. And we walk in, and right away he lights up because he recognizes our faces from being at the gym. And we're over there, and I went up to him and I said, Louie, I said, you want to get the hell out of here? I said, we'll take you to dinner. He's like, yeah, let's go. Him and Doris. So we get him in the van, and I'm like, Louie, we're in Nashville. We'll take you anywhere you want to go for dinner. There's tons of great food down here, and anywhere you want to go, it's on me and Carrie here. And he goes, I've never been to a Hooters before. So I said, you want to go to a Hooters in Nashville with all this? Yeah, let's go there. So we took him there, and he gave us like a 3-hour seminar where he didn't shut up the whole time on how we should set up our training and what we should be doing. And I just took everything he said to heart, and I set up my training. Monday and Tuesday were my max effort days, and I wanted to test. He wanted me to test the front squat and the sumo deadlift for my lower body, and for my upper body, he wanted the push jerk behind my neck. So I basically just did max effort work on Monday.
Why, did he tell you why the push?
Udo Bayer, who was a German shot putter, supposedly had like a 600-pound behind the neck jerk.
Okay.
And so I think he thought that was.
I can rationalize the other ones,
Yeah.
That one I'm kind of like, could you even do it?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
at 320.
Oh,
you,
yeah. I did a 405 one eventually. Okay. But Monday, so during the season, Monday and Tuesday, I'd hit my max effort hard. And then on my dynamic days, I would throw. So it was 2 days a week lifting, 2 days a week throwing. And then once the season ended, I would add in speed work, so I would do my normal speed work, my squats and my box squats and deadlifts. And I would do a speed bench, which I probably should have focused more on maybe a military press or a push press behind the neck or something, but it worked. And I think that's why Louie was okay with me and Carrie, was because we were guys who were not powerlifters, and he seemed to be really interested in how it was going with our throwing.
Well, you're a strength athlete, where when you were telling that story, because I did a lot of those seminars with him.
You were his interpreter.
Yes,
he always had an interpreter.
Yes. And when they were university type things, you kind of hit the nail on the head. He at a certain point, he just didn't go anymore, but he looked forward to doing them. But as soon as the questions would start, his frustration level would just go and go and go and go to a point to where as soon as you were like the scapegoat, it's like, oh my God, finally somebody that actually knows how to train that.
Right.
So, and then he's going to double down, being able to help those people because you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And what the funny thing about all that was, did you listen to his presentation at all?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times it was so far over whoever the audience was, because he did one time, and it was I think it was at the University of Pittsburgh, and we're driving up there, and I said, what are you going to speak on? And he's like, we're going to talk about, because at the time we were playing around with this crazy Circumax thing with ridiculous amounts of band tension and chains and weight releasers.
Right.
So like a plate per side, maybe 185, then 500 pounds of band and weight it was ridiculous. It didn't work either. But so he was going to talk about this, that this huge accommodating resistance with, maximal eccentric overload. And so he starts talking, and these are students.
Yeah.
Like second year students. And I'm trying to tell them as we're going up there, they don't even know what a box squat is.
Right.
So you're going to talk about this wave that we're doing with box squats. They don't get what a box squat is. And he had no ability to read a room. So it's probably the same case for you. They're like, nobody's paying attention after 5 minutes. They're just like doodling shit and just looking around. Then he'll get frustrated, then leave. And these people are so fucking stupid. They don't know. The future strength coaches are just fucked. You know, I'm sure you heard the same thing, right? Over and over and over. But then
they forgot about strength.
Yes. If anybody would walk in kind of like what you did, it was kind of like, oh, thank God, let's get out of here. Like break us out. Like we'll meet you around back and go out the back door and just exit and then go talk about the training with that where, and he loved that because when he would sit down and like lay those things out with you, you can see where the genius kind of lies.
Yeah. And that was what the shame of him was that in his time that I don't think enough people realized he was a genius because, and he needed that interpreter, you know.
Well, he needed to speak more openly about what he was telling you to do because the general interpretation was just do everything that Westside does. I'm like, that's not what he's telling these guys that are in these different sports or football coaches and all that. This, and I pushed so hard. Tom Berry's been able to, was the one to actually get him to actually do it because I kept trying so hard. Like, Louie, just write about this, take your conversation, write that. And he wouldn't do it. He's like, and I'm like, it's going to broaden everything.
Yeah.
And so I failed, and then Winning failed, then AJ Roberts failed. So then Tom Berry was able to actually be able to do it to where you can see, and because he would listen to you too. You know, when you take what you would say.
He was definitely,
he wouldn't listen to us, but he'd listen to anybody else.
The wheels were definitely turning. He was asking us a ton of questions because I don't think he knew what Highland games were, but you know, he was definitely interested in what we were doing, and he knew throwing, he knew throwers, and you know, I know he'd spend a lot of time. Judd Logan was a mentor and a good friend of mine, and he was very interested in Judd and what Judd was doing and how Judd was putting, you know, his stuff that Louie gave him into application. He was really interested in that.
With that base in there, which was basically just max effort dynamic, just standard conjugate with, I'm going to guess, very little accessory work.
In the in season, very little. In the off season, it probably looked like, I mean, we did a lot of auxiliary work in the off season.
Yeah. So the speed work was just pulled during the season because you're kind of doing that anyhow. And then, so now if you had to focus on as you were saying earlier, you may have to get this caber here, or you may have to get this stone here. Then how did you weave in the being able to peak? You don't really peak the way that you're training.
You can't.
But how do you wave in trying to build that ability to have that heavier stone? If you know it's 3 weeks, because I see where you're doing here. This is like 3 weeks out. This one might be 6 weeks out. This is just kind of like a deload thing. And so how are you changing your skill practice based upon those?
So there were things I didn't practice at all. So caber was probably my best event. I never trained that one. Once you got a feel for that, you just knew how to do it. Weight for height, sheaf, I never trained at all. So basically I focused on stones, weights, and hammers. So one day that was my quote unquote dynamic day. I would focus on the stones and weights. The other day I would focus on the hammers. And then, you know, if I knew it was going to be like a bad stone that I didn't have a prayer throwing far, I just wouldn't train that at all. And I would just focus on what I needed to for that week. And the worst case scenario, you were off for maybe a week of that event. Then you start training it next week, you know? So you just prioritize what you needed coming up, you know, and it worked out really well.
So if you were mentoring somebody that was the thrower back then, or even now, if I'm understanding what you said, if it's an event that you're really good at and you're always going to be good at, just back burner it. Don't waste the energy. And that makes a lot of sense. If it's one you really suck at, then you're probably going to want to double down on that.
Work your weaknesses, right?
So when you do that, are you training with lighter implements or with heavier implements?
So like for the weights, I didn't spend a lot of time on the 56-pound weight for distance. Number one, it would beat the crap out of you. And number two, if I could get, you know, my problem wasn't strength. It was speed. So I would really focus on the lighter weight, the 28-pound weight, because the two techniques were exactly the same. So I would just focus a lot more on the 28. Hopefully that speed would carry over to the heavier one. Same with the hammers. You had a light hammer and a heavy hammer. So I would train the hell out of the light hammer, and hopefully that speed would carry over. So you were basically gaining your strength in the weight room and your speed with the implements.
Were there any, I'm sure there are, but the way I like to frame this is, we're all told, and I'm sure you were when you're going through that time, there's enablers, then there's realists. And we try to surround ourselves with all the enablers and like tune out the realists.
Sure, of course.
Right? And then the realists are the ones that are saying, this is stupid. You're going to pay for this 20 years later. Yeah. You're not going to remember this on your deathbed, da, 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 da. And you do.
Yeah.
Like there's certain moments, either through training or through competition or a certain throw or a certain lift, that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. What's the first one that pops in your head when I say that?
Right off the bat, and this is, unless you were, you're involved, it's hard to talk, understand it. I remember there was a caber in Wisconsin, and when you turned it, you got to sign your name on it. So few people had turned it at this point. And I had my soon-to-be wife, my girlfriend there at the time, and no one had turned this stick all day, and it was a big, giant stick. And I got a picture of it somewhere, but last throw of the competition, I get it up and get a good run at it and pop it, and the thing goes over, and the crowd just goes insane, and my girlfriend comes running out of the crowd and jumps into my arms. And it was just, it felt like you just won the Olympics or something, Then you get to sign the name with the Sharpie on the stick, and right off the top of my head, that's the one that really sticks in my head.
Was that the last event then of that day?
It probably would have been the last event of that day. Yeah.
So how'd the rest of the night go?
Yeah. Well, it went well. It was,
What's that?
It's hard to screw that up after you do something like that,
Well, it's with those events, if it was a big one like that, my only reference is kind of like the powerlifting.
Yeah.
So are you like caffeinated out of your brain, so when the event's over, you're just dead? Or,
well, I mean, I think I burned my adrenals out.
That's where I'm
caffeine, yeah. But no, we didn't have energy drinks back then. We didn't have anything like that. So it was just your standard, whatever you had in the tank, normally. So that probably would have been day 2 of the festival. Big paying games. Milwaukee, Wisconsin was always really big money. Labor Day weekend, so the crowds were huge. Just get you fired up.
So the crowd kind of kept you going?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, because it's, when I look back to some of the best meets that I've had, it's like, you have that great feeling.
Yep.
Because of all that. But then all I remember after that, just because I was so fucked up, is just laying in my hotel room, still having the chalk and stick them and shit all over me, because I'm too tired to even fucking take a shower, and feeling great, but then realizing I'm just laying here like by my fucking self, and it's still worth it. But because I was asked the same question that you were, and it kind of boils down to this, like, well, what happened after? What fucking bed? I couldn't sleep because I'm still jacked up, from the whole thing. And I want to get up, but I can't because I'm fucked up. Back hurts and all this other kind of shit, where I wonder, had we had the crowd, and then there is no going back.
Right.
You just keep going. And then the next day had to be brutal.
The next day was always tough because you had to work out all those kinks, or if you were, we had Dan McKim, who is a fantastic human being, but he was always the guy who would have like prayer services on Sunday morning of day 2. And we're like, I'm not going to your prayer service, Dan, and we'd come in all hungover, twisted, or, beat up. But the majority of the time you were laying in your hotel room afterwards and in the same situation, it was just me and the pile of cash I had next to me to
then you got to be out by 10, and you don't want to get out by 10.
That was it. And the crowds, man, I tell you what, throw in front of in Bethlehem at the national championships, Celtic Classic in Bethlehem. If anyone out there has never gone to that, you're in the area, you should go check it out. I mean, they would, over 3 days, they would get 50,000 plus people there. So you're in this, it was a free festival for everybody. They just charged the vendors. And so they would shut down the whole inner city and it would just be body to body people all around this field. And there would be 10 rows deep around the field of people watching. There's a bridge over top. People would be lining the bridges, and there's like a VIP tent where all these, rich people are in there drinking and eating, and just thousands and thousands of people. And you do the challenge caber, and everyone, I mean, it was like a rock concert. People would be just hanging off the rafters, and you can't help but get jacked up for that. It was
Now,
just great.
did the strongman coincide with this, or did
No, it was after I retired, and I got into strongman after that, because I needed something to do. I just couldn't.
What was the reason to retire?
Well,
or the reasons, it's not just one.
So I was getting married September of 2013, and I literally retired in July of 2013. It was just like I knew what I was getting into, and one of the things was maybe I could have thrown farther, but the amount of work I was going to have to put in to throw further. And I just started a business, and I was just about to get married, and I just knew I didn't have anything left in the tank, not to throw the way I wanted to throw. And I didn't want to be one of those guys who just showed up and took some money and placed 10th. That was never going to be me. So
when you made this decision and you parted, did you, because it was part of your identity for so long?
Very tough.
So are you going through all the stages of grief to where you kind of hate the sport for a while? You got to separate for a while?
Oh, yeah. I hated all the politics, and there was a big political fight towards the end of my career, where a governing body, and I'm against governing bodies of any kind, whether it's political or with sport, they were coming in and trying to kind of take over the competitions, and I wasn't into that. So I was totally burnt out on that. And I didn't know what to do with myself once I retired, which, led me down a whole bunch of different paths.